So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining. I'm Melanie Anthony, Communication Advisor at RPRA. This is the second webinar in our learning series on RPRA's Hazardous Waste Program Registry. This webinar will outline what future users can expect leading up to the launch, as well as answer your questions. To ask a question, click on the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen, type in your question, comment, and click send. There's also the upvote feature where you can like another person's question. This will move a question up the queue and prompt us to answer it faster. We will be posing for questions at the end of the webinar. If we can't get to your question because of time, or if your question is very specific to your own business needs, please feel free to reach out to our HWP team at hwp@rpra.ca, who will be happy to help. We will share these slides with you via email. This webinar is also being recorded and will be posted to our website this week. Next slide. With me today is RPRA HWP project sponsor Noah Gitterman and project lead Ellen White. I will now hand it over to Noah to kick off today's presentation.
Thanks, Melanie. I'm Noah. I'm the Chief of Strategic Initiatives here at RPRA and the executive sponsor for our Hazardous Waste Program Registry project. This is the first in a series of activities we're going to be hosting over the next few months to help get you folks ready for January 1st, 2023, and the changes that are happening to hazardous waste reporting in the province. There's a lot of you on the session today. We're going to have some time for questions. We won't be able to get through all of the questions you have during this session, but that's okay. If we don't get to a question, there will be other opportunities for you to get the information you need. So we'll be developing Q's and A's or FAQs based on the questions that we get during this session and the other two sessions we're doing this week. There will be other webinars we'll be hosting about specific aspects of the change. So don't worry if we don't get to your specific question today. You will get an answer to it and you will get the information you need over the next little bit. So with that, why don't we get started? Next slide, please. And maybe just go right to the next one. Yes, thank you. So why are we here today? What's changing? So what is changing in Ontario's Hazardous Waste Program is where and how you will report information. So starting January 1st, 2023, all information about hazardous waste activities will be submitted to RPRA's Hazardous Waste Program Registry. So there will be no more, so one of the things that means is that there will be no more paper manifests. And that's all covered in amendments to Regulation 347, which were approved this spring and are linked to here and on our website. And again, like Melanie said, you'll be getting a copy of this deck. So any of the links here, you'll be able to click through. Second, there will be no annual registration anymore. So that registration that for generators that happens between January and February 15th every year, that is not part of the new program or the amended program. There will be reporting only if there are on-site activities or manifesting to do. And the third thing we're highlighting is that generators can delegate reporting and fee payment to a service provider in the new system. So the substance of your reporting, facility information, waste stream information, on-site activities, manifesting, and when to report stays the same. What's changing is the where and the how. And again, all of these changes are reflected in regulatory amendments that you can find online. Next slide, please. Some of you may know who RPRA is, some of you may not. So just a little bit of background about who we are. We are a regulator created through legislation with sort of two key mandates. The first one is that we support transition to a circular economy by winding up legacy waste diversion programs under the Waste Diversion Transition Act and implementing new waste diversion programs, what we call producer responsibility programs under the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act. And we implement and we regulate those new programs. That's one of the things we do. The other thing we do, relevant to today, is we provide registration and reporting services for other ministry programs that the minister directs us to provide. And right now we do that for excess soil and a new excess soil program that the ministry is running. And that registry is already up and running, was built last year and is now being operated by RPRA. And we're doing it for hazardous waste. So RPRA is not part of government, but we are accountable to the minister, and some of the accountability mechanisms are built into our governing statute, that's the RRCEA, and some are part of an operating agreement that we have with the ministry that governs some of our activities. And there's a lot of information on our website, again, if you're interested about who we are and what we do. And a lot of our sort of foundational corporate documents, governing documents are all public. So the operating agreement I just talked about is public on our website, along with a bunch of other material if you're interested in learning more about RPRA. We provide information to the ministry to support their development of policy and their program decisions, but we do not determine policy. We don't write the regulations. So we implement. In the case of hazardous waste, we're implementing this registry, but the ministry controls the program, the ministry controls the regulations and the policy embedded in those regulations. Next slide, please. And so again, maybe just a reminder as we go through, we're going to be doing questions at the end. Because there's so many of you, please make use of that upvote feature where you can. So if you see questions, if you see a question in there that's similar to the one you want to ask, just click the upvote. And because when we go through questions at the end, in most cases, we'll be starting with those questions that have been upvoted the most. So that was a little bit about who RPRA is. So what is the Hazardous Waste Program Registry that we're building? So we've been mandated by the minister to create a digital online registry for reporting all of the information that's required under Ontario's Hazardous Waste Program, including registering facilities and waste streams, all the waste activities, and manifesting. So again, there will be no more paper manifests starting January 1st, 2023. We also will be setting and collecting fees to recover our program costs. We'll talk a little bit about this more later, but RPRA does not receive funding from government. We will be recovering our costs through program fees that will get charged through the registry. And we'll be supporting the folks who will be using the new registry. So we'll be providing online email and call support to make sure folks can do all the reporting they need to do through our new registry. So that this registry will be replacing the current HWIN system. So your current 22 reporting will all get wrapped up in HWIN, and we'll be communicating with you more about, and the ministry will, about how that will happen. But on January 1st, starting January 1st, 2023, all of the reporting requirements you have will happen through RPRA's registry and not through HWIN. The ministry, though, will continue to oversee the program and will be responsible for compliance and enforcement activities for the program. So RPRA is running the registry and supporting users who are interacting with the registry, but the ministry is still running the hazardous waste program. They are still running the compliance and enforcement activities for that program. Next slide. We've been developing the registry for the past year or so. We are on schedule. Some of the key features, we're on schedule to launch, to go live with the registry sometime in November. So I think November 15th, we'll be talking more about some key dates later on. Some of the key features we built already relate to creating user accounts for generators, carriers, and receivers, managing facilities and waste stream information, and creating, editing, and completing manifests. We are not building this in isolation. We have been collaborating closely with our partners at the ministry, with technology vendors who are helping us realize the requirements for this registry, and key industry stakeholders and subject matter experts. So we've been engaging with folks throughout this process to make sure that what we're building meets both the ministry's program needs and users' needs. So we've had industry working group meetings, focus groups, usability testing sessions. We've had one-on-one interviews with industry participants and our ministry partners, and we've done surveys. You will see, some of you will see more of this going forward as we get closer and closer to launch date. So that's just a little bit about where we've been so far. Next slide, please. So now drilling down a little bit more into what's changing. So as I said, January 1st, 2023, where and how you report will change. So what's ending is the annual registration for generating facilities that currently happens between January 1st and February 15th. That is over as of Jan 1. And paper manifests are ending as of January 1st. What's remaining the same, again, is the substance of your reporting. What you report and when is the same. That hasn't changed in the regulations. What's new is the requirement to report through RPRA's new registry. The ability, like I mentioned earlier, for generators to delegate reporting and fee payment to a service provider. A requirement for carriers and receivers to create registry accounts. So all information needs to be reported through RPRA's registry. That means anyone who's responsible for submitting information related to the hazardous waste program on manifests or otherwise will need an account in our system. And we are also developing an option for bulk data transfers for folks who do a high volume of manifesting. We are creating an option for integration with our system. We'll be telling you a bit more about that later on. Next slide, please. So at a very high level, we're going from an HWIN system for that you might currently be using for registering facilities and waste streams, and a paper manifest system to our online system. So on the next slide, you'll see these are just screenshots of what the new registry will look like. And this is some of the manifest related functionalities we built into the registry. I should point out that the new registry includes a mobile app that will allow you to manage manifests on the go. And so on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a screenshot from what the mobile app will look like. Next slide, please. So I've talked a bit about delegation already. I'm going to provide a few more details. And again, this will come up. You'll get more information as we go through this session. But the new amended Regulation 347 clarifies that generators can delegate a service provider to submit information to the registry on their behalf. So someone who's been delegated like this, we call an authorized generator delegate, or an AGD. So you'll see those terms come up again and again in this presentation and in other communications you'll see from us. So what that means is that generators can hire a service provider like a carrier or a receiver to do all of the reporting and fee payment in the registry on their behalf. And if they do that, then they wouldn't have to set up accounts or deal with RPRA at all. And we call that kind of delegation full delegation. If generators want to set up their own accounts in the registry, they can do that and then delegate facility and waste stream management and other reporting to another account holder in the registry. And so we call that partial delegation. No one's obligated to delegate, but there is options for full delegation, in which case you wouldn't have to interact with the registry at all, and partial delegation, where you would need to create your account to initially set up your facility, but then you can delegate managing that information to someone else. So the Regulation 347 requires that the delegation be created through some kind of written authorization between the generator and the service provider. Mentions that there may be additional information about how to do that in the manual. You will be getting more information from the ministry about that soon. But we do think the time is now to start thinking about whether, if you're a generator, whether you want to delegate and do full delegation or partial delegation. And if you're a service provider, whether you want to be offering that for your clients. And we encourage you folks to start thinking about that now. And just keep in mind that if you do land on delegation, you'll need some kind of written authorization showing that the delegation has happened. Next slide, please. RPRA, I mentioned earlier, does not get funding from government. RPRA must recover all of its costs from registrants. We operate on a cost recovery basis only, and we recover our costs through fees that we charge to registrants through our registry and all of the programs we operate. We can also recover a portion of the ministry's ongoing costs for the Hazardous Waste Registry, for the Hazardous Waste Program. There is a new regulation, in addition to the amendments to Regulation 347, there's a new regulation under the RRCEA, that's RPRA's governing statute, that preserves and clarifies the existing fee exemptions in the program. And RPRA has to follow those. So the fees, the existing fee exemptions will all be preserved when the new fees are set through the registry. And fees in the registry will be invoiced to the entity that sets up the generation facility. So if you're not delegating or doing partial delegation, that's the generator. If you're fully delegating, that would be the generator's authorized delegate. RIP is obligated to consult on fees before they're set. And we also have to release a business plan or finalize a business plan by October 1st of every year. That's a requirement in our statute, setting our budget for the next year. So we will be consulting on fees this fall. We'll be consulting on fees for this program and all of the other programs we run. And that'll happen this fall after our business plan is finalized for 2023. So you will be receiving more information about that as we get closer to the consultation launch. Next slide, please. So I think at this point, I'm going to hand over to Ellen to go into a bit more detail about key dates and key things you should be thinking about now as we get closer to launch.
Thank you, Noah, and thank you to everyone for asking really great questions. I'm going to try to touch on several of them as we go into the details of how you can prepare for the transition from reporting in HWIN to reporting in RPRA's new registry. But of course, we will have a time for a Q&A session at the end where we'll get to as many questions as we can. As Noah mentioned, we have a date for the launch of the registry. The registry will open on November 15th, 2022, and that will give everyone time between November and January 1st to set up your new registry accounts before those new requirements for reporting your waste management activities in the new registry take effect. There are things you can do today and up to over the summer and fall to prepare for the transition. If you're a current HWIN user, the ministry and the HWIN team are recommending that you manage your prepaid account balance and you ensure that the data in the HWIN system is accurate and up to date. The reason for that is twofold. One, regarding your prepaid account balances. In the new registry, we are moving to an invoicing model. So we won't be transferring any prepaid funds in HWIN over into the new system. So you will have to reconcile your account balance prior to closing out your HWIN account. The ministry and the HWIN team will be providing communication directly to you about how to reconcile your account balance. But it's something to keep in mind that, you know, as of January 1st, you're not going to be using a prepaid balance. Also, to try to make the transition as smooth as possible for existing HWIN users, we are going to be migrating data from the HWIN system into the new registry so that it'll be easier for you to set up your new registry account. The data that we're going to be importing will be existing generator numbers and existing facility information. So if you currently have generator numbers in HWIN, you'll be using those same numbers in the new registry. And the location information for those facilities will be transferred, as well as associated waste streams. So all the waste classes that you've registered for that facility, the land disposal restriction information, that data will be transferred into the new registry. To help you with this transition, as mentioned earlier, we will be providing training, future website sessions, email communications, website training materials to provide step-by-step instructions on how to create into your new registry account. So stay tuned for that. Also in fall 2022, as Noah mentioned, we will be doing a public consultation on our fees. I think I saw some questions coming in about what kinds of fees will exist in the new world. Yes, there will still be a tonnage fee for manifests. No, there is no fee to create an RPRA registry account, and there is no annual $50 fee as there currently is in HWIN. November 15th, it opens. You're going to be able to create your account, prepare your accounts by linking your HWIN information, and get ready to understand the system so that starting Jan 1st, you'll be ready to start your manifesting. And then on January 1st, yeah, the requirements kick in, and then you'll be good to go. So moving over into for each role who currently exists in the HWIN world and manifesting world, we're going to take you step by step what each of you should keep in mind as we transition. So as of January 1st, all of your reporting must occur through the new registry. So any of the generator registration reports that you were doing through HWIN, you will be submitting that information in the new registry as of January 1st. You'll also be doing all of your manifesting through the registry and mobile app. No more paper. As Noah mentioned, delegation, it'll be important for you to start considering whether you want to create your own registry account as a generator or whether you want to delegate to an authorized delegate service provider to do that on your behalf. If it's a full delegation, you do not need to create a registry account. Your delegate will do that on your behalf. If you do want to set up your own account because you want to do a partial delegation or you want to handle all of your waste management activities on your own, you'll need to do so before you start shipping waste from your facility. In order to set up your account, you're going to need to know the generator number and the HWIN username for each facility you operate. You will be having one company account to manage all of your facilities from. So what you'll do is when you set up your company account, you'll be able to link your existing generator numbers to that account. And you're going to use the HWIN username, the primary or secondary HWIN username for that facility as a verification that this is the right facility to link to your account. If you do have an existing HWIN account, the HWIN team will communicate the information about how to manage your prepaid account balances and how to prepare your data in the system for that data migration that will happen in the fall. And as well, if you have existing 2022 manifests, that will be done using the current HWIN system. So if you have a manifest going out on December 31st, 2022, if you do it by paper, you're still going to follow the same process of mailing that into the ministry. If you use HWIN's e-manifesting, you'll still be doing that. But starting January 1st, 2023, you're going to be doing your manifesting in the new HWP registry. Next slide, please. As a carrier, as a transporter of hazardous waste, you're also going to need to set up an account in the new registry. This is going to be essential in order for you to be listed on a manifest as a carrier, to give you the ability to create or edit manifests, and also to sign manifests. You'll be able to do that on the website version of the registry or the mobile app. We know that carriers may want to be a authorized generator delegate for their clients. And so you're going to, as soon as possible, want to determine if you want to do that for your clients, if you want to do a full or partial delegation. And then make sure you have a written agreement in place before November 15th, when the account creation will take place. If you have, you're also going to want to know your environmental compliance approval numbers and have them ready at the time you create your account. Similar with the HWIN data, we are going to be importing existing environmental compliance approvals into the system, and you will have the ability to link that ECA to your account. This will make it really easy during the manifesting creation process so that all of that validation will happen by the system, so that when you're creating a manifest, the system will tell you if the carrier who's listed on the manifest has the approval to transport those wastes. So really important for you to link your carrier company to your ECA numbers so that all of that information can be pre-populated and validated on manifests. You're also going to want to set up your account starting November 15th to be ready for January 1st. Because you will have to have your account in place in order to be listed on a manifest as a carrier. As I mentioned, all paper manifests that have been shipped in 2022 calendar year and associated payments, they're going to be continued to be processed through the HWIN system, and the ministry will be communicating exactly how that will work. So stay tuned for that. Next slide, please. As a receiver, you're also going to need to create a new registry account in order to be added to a manifest as a receiver and to complete and sign manifests. And if you are interested in being an authorized generator delegate for your generator clients, you're going to need to make those decisions and have those written agreements in place before you start reporting in January 1st and in order to do your account creation in November. Similar to carriers, you're also going to need to know your environmental compliance approval numbers so that you'll be able to link those approvals to your account. And similar to carriers, that will act as a validation to make sure that waste listed on a manifest are able to be received by the receiver. Can't emphasize enough that you're going to want to create your account and have it in place before January 1st. So we're opening the registry on November 15th, and we would encourage everyone to get in as soon as they can to get prepared. And you can go to the next slide. We understand that the idea of an authorized generator delegate is somewhat new. And so we will be having a specific session on the authorized generator delegate process to go into some specifics and answer any specific questions that you may have about what being an AGD or having an AGD will entail. But for now, we'll just go through a few points to keep in mind. Again, if you're going to want to determine if this is a service that you want to provide to your generator clients and do all the reporting on their behalf, and you're going to want to start thinking about this now so that you have enough time to develop a written agreement and get set up in the new registry. You're going to want to make sure that all of these authorizations and the way you're going to be organizing your delegation model is in place at the time of account creation so that you'll be set up to start manifesting and reporting waste activities in January. If you are going to do a full delegation, that means you're going to be setting up a registry. You're going to be setting up the facility information for your generators. They're not going to go in, you're going to be doing it. And so in order to link that existing facility information to your account, you're going to need to know the current generator numbers and HWN usernames for each facility that you're delegated for. You will also need to make sure that you're contacting RPRA. As Noah mentioned, we are developing we are working with companies who may have existing internal IT systems that you'd want to link up to the registry to be able to push information into the registry automatically via an API integration. If you're interested in this approach, please contact RPRA. Our contact information will be on an upcoming slide to let us know if you're interested in looking at this approach. We're currently developing that API integration model, and we're going to be working with companies who are interested in that integration to support that happening. To prepare for your account creation for any role, again, you're going to manage all of your facilities through one company account. If you have an existing registry account, whether you're part of our excess soils registry or one of our producer responsibility programs, you don't need to create a new account. You can use your same email and password to enroll in the new HWN registry. You'll just see a new icon on your homepage and you'll be able to click and start your registration from there. Please make sure that you know your existing generator numbers or ECA numbers so that you're ready to link them to your new registry account, and make sure that the facility information and the associated waste information are up to date so that they can be migrated into the registry correctly. As well, if you do have a fee exemption in the current HWN system, that will also be incorporated into the new registry. So you won't need to reapply for your fee exemptions. That information will be carried over into the new system. And I think, I know it's repetitive to really emphasize the need to know your generator number, but it really will make your account creation process in November go smoothly. So being able to very quickly search by the generator number for your facility to link it to your account will make things go smoothly. Knowing the primary and secondary HWN username associated to each facility is going to be important, as well as knowing the ECA numbers for your business. And just to recap it all, act now. There are definitely things you can do today to start getting prepared for the transition. So I'll just leave a moment for you to read through these check marks. You're going to want to decide if you want to have a delegate or be a delegate. You're going to want to have those written authorizations for delegation in place. Make sure you know the generator numbers, HWN usernames, and your ECA numbers. If you're an HWN user, you're going to want to try to manage your prepaid balance account, knowing that that information is not being carried over into the new system, and making sure your data and system's up to date so that that data migration will go smoothly. And please do contact us if you're interested in integrating your internal IT system with the registry via an API. On the screen here, you'll see a lot of places where you can get more information about the HWP project and the program transition. Our website has a lot of information and will include the slides and the recordings for this webinar and any future sessions we have. As we mentioned, this is the first of many of information sessions and training opportunities we have for all future users of the registry. So please stay tuned on our website or sign up for our email updates to be kept in the loop on that. If you have questions about the registry project or anything that we've covered today in the webinar, you can contact us at hwp@rpra.ca. If you have questions about the regulation, any of the legal requirements associated to the program, or any questions about the windup of HWN, you can contact the ministry at hwinmodernization@ontario.ca.
We will now answer the questions. To ask a question, again, click on the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen, type in your question or comment and click send. As mentioned, there's also a vote feature where you can like another person's question. This will move a question up the queue and prompt us to answer it faster. So we will ask the first question here. How will TDG of hazardous waste work with no hard copy of a manifest?
Yes, thank you for that question. We are aware of the TDG requirements, and we want to make sure that to the extent possible, the manifest in the registry is compliant with that. We will be providing a PDF version of a manifest that you'll be able to print out and keep with you during the shipment. And we are in touch with our colleagues at Transport Canada to ensure that, the extent possible, all of the required information in the correct order and format is incorporated in that PDF so that you'll be able to use it.
The second question here is, my organization has sites across Ontario. May we report as one organization, or does each site need to be registered?
No, so you'll have one company account under which you can manage all of your facilities from that one account. The way that account management works in our registry is you'll have one user who acts as the account admin, and you can add other users to the account. Each user can have their own email and password to sign in, but that account admin will be able to add and remove users as they may join or leave your organization.
So the next question is about signing off on manifest. Maybe you can explain the process, because somebody asked, does that mean no more signing off of manifest?
You definitely still need to sign off on your manifests. How that will be done is if you are logged into the system, there'll be a checkbox where you'll verify that the information is correct if you're signing off. We also have in place for times where a driver is arriving at a generator site and the person at the site may not be a registry user, maybe they're a front desk staff. We do have a signature panel included on the mobile app. So a driver will be able to hand over their mobile device and allow that generator to provide their signature.
The next question here is, will paper manifest still be accepted after January 1st, 2023? What if there are technical difficulties or a consignment is located in a remote location with no cellular service? What is plan B?
Yeah, so in the design of the registry, we have considered times where you may be out of mobile service range or Wi-Fi range. And so the mobile app does have an offline capability. So if you'll be able to see your manifest information and do sign-offs. And then once you're back in mobile range, information will be uploaded to the registry. So in the design, we really have tried to minimize as much as possible the need to have a paper manifest. There will be in very, very, very extreme circumstances. There is a process where you will be able to apply to the ministry for an exemption. The ministry will be providing information about what they're calling their undue hardship process and how to get approval. So you will be, they'll be providing more information on that process. But we definitely have considered mobile access and also facilities where you're not allowed to have a mobile device on site for safety reasons. And that offline capability is a way to do those signatures and not require paper.
The next question is, how will generators sign off on manifest that the carrier would provide during a pickup? Carrier will have to have an electronic device.
There's two options. So either one, yes, if the carrier has a mobile device, they'll be able to bring up a signature panel on their mobile device and whoever is at the generating site can sign off. Alternatively, the generator can log into the registry account and use the check mark function to authorize that sign off.
The next question is about delegation. If a company is fully delegated to an authorized delegate, then decided to change to another authorized delegate, will I be able to access my manifest history once moved to the new authorized delegate?
I might pass this one off to Noah.
Thanks, Ellen. So that's a good question. If you're doing partial delegation, you'll always have access to your account, and so you'll delegate through your account. If you're doing full delegation, your manifest history will remain in the registry, and you may need to work out with your delegate a way to preserve access to that once you change, but we'll provide you with more information over the next few weeks about how that can work for you as you're figuring out, you know, your options for delegation.
Thank you. The next question is about storage. So if we store hazardous waste and arrange for pickup, where does this fall under, delegation or not?
If you store waste and The same requirements for reporting long-term and short-term storage will still exist in the new system. So if you're storing waste longer than 90 days, you'll be able to report your short-term or long-term storage in the new registry. When you're getting that picked up, it's up to you. It would be the same process if you want to delegate that reporting piece to the company that's picking up your waste. If it's a full delegation, they'll do the reporting on your behalf. If it's partial, they may be just creating the manifest and you're signing it. So whether it's storage of long-term storage of waste or a frequent pickup, the options for delegation are still in place.
Thank you. The next question is about generator delegation as well. So can a generator delegate to multiple service providers? For example, one provider for chemical waste and a second for medical waste?
Yes, so you can have multiple full delegation agreements with different service providers. Or if in a partial model, if you have your registry account, you'll be able to add a list of service providers and be able to delegate access to different facilities and different activities.
Okay. The next question is about e-manifest. So will the e-manifest meet the requirement for the new cross-border regulations for the movement of hazardous waste and hazardous recyclable that came into force October 31st, 2021?
Yes, our understanding is you still have to report into Environment Canada's CNMTS system for those cross-border shipments. So you are still required to report into that system. You are also required to report your Ontario specific shipments into the new registry.
Perfect. The next question is the RPRA manifest format and information content same with TDG shipping document manifest? I suggest to harmonize the manifest form as the Ministry of Transport require a specific order of presenting the information in the shipping document manifest.
Yeah, that's a requirement we've heard from many stakeholders, and it's one that, to the best of our ability, we are incorporating into the design of our PDF manifest download, as well as the order of the data fields as they appear on your mobile app. To the extent possible, we are making them aligned with TDGA. I will say that, of course, that is a different regulation, and you're still required to make sure that you're meeting those regulations. So please make sure you're still reviewing your requirements for TDGA, and if there's any kinds of special shipping handling information or extra forms that you need, that you have those in place as well.
Okay. The next question is, if a generator does not delegate anything to a consultant, can the carrier still create all manifests for shipments, or would that mean the generator now has to create initiate manifest?
So yeah, even if you haven't done any delegation, the carrier can still create the manifest, and you as the generator would have to review that information, confirm it's accurate, and sign off on it. So yeah, we haven't restricted who can create a manifest. So even if you haven't done any delegation, the carrier can still create the manifest. You're going to be responsible for reviewing and signing the manifest.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, can a template be provided for written authorization for delegating to service providers, partial or full?
I believe that's a question that we can take back to the ministry. I think the ministry is putting together some information about what that written agreement needs to contain. But Noah, you might have some more information to provide.
Yeah, so I think that's right. We will take that back to the ministry. I don't think you should expect there to be a template for this written authorization. The requirement in the regulation is pretty simple and straightforward. So it doesn't suggest a lot of unnecessary formality around it. So I think that's a good sort of running assumption for now, but we'll try to get you some more information from the ministry to give you additional guidance.
Thank you. The next question is about fees. So are the fees expected to be on par with current fees, or should generators be prepared for a significant increase?
So fees, like I said before, fees will be consulted on in the fall. We're not anticipating significant increase to fees. Like I was explaining before, RPRA will need to recover its own costs through fees and may be recovering some of the ministry's costs related to the hazardous waste program. Exactly what that will mean for fees, you will find more, you will get more information about that when we consult this fall, but we're not anticipating a substantial increase to the fees you're currently paying.
Okay. Another question about payment is, how will payment be handled?
Ellen, do you want to do that one?
Yeah, I can do this one. The way it will work is we will be issuing an invoice on a to be determined frequency. And that invoice will contain all of the fees related to your manifest within a given period. And then you'll be able to pay those through the registry. We currently accept a number of payment methods. So I think there is an FAQ on our website that lists all of our accepted payment methods. And so you'd be paying via invoice versus a prepaid account.
Okay. The next question is about delegation. So what are the pros and cons of delegating to a service provider, partial, full? What will be the expected fees charged by the service provider to provide this service, assuming they would charge for this?
So I can start, and then Noah, you feel free to jump in. I think one of the pros is this is something we understand, like during the regulation amendment process, that a lot of stakeholders as generators, they rely on their waste management companies to identify and their wastes and be able to properly identify them. And so this delegation model, it's a way to formalize that. And in a full delegation model, that allows your service provider to do all of your reporting on your behalf. So you don't have to create an account. Your service provider would be able to do all of that work on your behalf. It would depend on the business relationship that you have with your service provider about what's going to work for your individual situation.
Yeah, I would just add that a key benefit of full delegation is that you don't have to interact with the new system or with RPRA. Like Ellen said, with partial delegation, you will have to at least set up an account with RPRA and migrate your data over from HWN. But at that point, you can delegate all of the waste stream management activities that currently happen in HWN to another account holder in our system. And again, also like Ellen said, a manifesting doesn't have to be specifically delegated. Any carrier can create a manifest in the system, even without delegation. But there are some big benefits to delegation. and including, to put it bluntly, not having to deal with the new system. And I think, Ellen, I didn't catch if you mentioned this, that fees for delegation is something you would work out with your service provider.
Okay, thank you, Helen and Noah. We will now take a quick break from the questions and launch our poll so that we can improve our webinars. So please take a few minutes to fill out these 4 questions. So these are the results of the poll. Thank you for participating. As announced earlier, we'll now get back to questions. So the next question is about waste classes. So can you make the waste classes a little more clear, as currently these are a bit confusing? Better to add some examples.
We've definitely, in the design of the registry, worked with our colleagues at the ministry and also with our industry stakeholder group to make the waste identification process as clear as possible. And so the way it'll work is there will be a bit of dependent pick list values. So if you start entering in, if you know the waste class, your waste type information will be a subset of a larger list. Your primary characterizations will be dependent as well. So we have, to the extent that we can, tried to make that process a little smoother. But we know as well that the ministry will also be looking at their manual to provide further information about how to identify your waste.
Thank you. The next question is, will there be generator responsibility when under AGD full delegation? And I think, Noah, you can answer that question.
Yes. So the answer is yes. There is still generator responsibility under Regulation 347. What you can delegate is the reporting activity or responsibility. So you can delegate to a service provider under the regulation to report all the information that needs to be reported into the registry. But ultimately, the generator is still responsible for ensuring that happens.
Thank you. The next question is, does a manifest sign-off individual need to be TDG trained to sign off? Maybe Ellen?
Yeah, can you repeat the question? I just want to make sure I have it right.
Does manifest sign-off individuals need to be TDG trained to sign off?
So you're going to have to look at the TDG regulation for the specifics of who can sign off as the consignor. For the purpose of our registry, we're bound by Regulation 347, and the people signing off on the manifest are the ones who are verifying that the information on the manifest is compliant with our Regulation 347.
Okay, we have come to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much for attending. As mentioned, this webinar is being recorded, so we will share it on our website with the slide deck. Thank you so much, and goodbye.